When you're a musician, taking your music from the studio to the stage can be a daunting task, especially when it comes to selecting the right audio equipment. You know what? You want to make sure your live set sounds as good as it does in the studio, but without the right gear, it's going to be a real challenge. Keep that in mind. One of the biggest hurdles musicians face when choosing audio equipment for live performances is getting the sound quality just about right. You want your music to come across as loud and as clear as it possibly can without any distortion or feedback. But then, on top of that, you also need to consider portability. The last thing that you would want is to be lugging around a bunch of heavy gear that is going to wear you out even before you get to the venue. You are musicians, you're not sound technicians, so how do you know when your levels are about right? Another challenge is compatibility, making sure all your gear works seamlessly together. Not only that, you have to make sure you're not stuck with a bunch of cables and adapters that are going to hold you back. And of course, there is the issue of budget. You want your gear to be the best, but you just don't want to break the bank. Finally, there is an issue of simplicity. You do not want to be stuck with complicated equipment that is going to distract you from what really matters. The only thing that matters is the music. You want to be able to focus on your performance. You don't want to get bogged down in technical difficulties. When it comes to audio equipment, there are a few key components that can make all the difference. That's the brain. This is what's going to center your sound and your structure around to how people are going to really perceive your performance, how they know what to follow. You've got a range of options here. To orientate yourself in what is going to work for you is really going a long way. So one thing that's really important to keep in mind when selecting audio equipment is to test it out in a live setting before the actual performance, if at all possible. This is where you really get a sense of how the gear is going to perform under pressure and make any necessary adjustments. It's tempting to just set it up in your home, but trust me, there is no substitute to testing it out in a real live setting. Another key thing to consider is the room itself. Every venue is different with its own unique acoustics and challenges. By testing your gear in a live setting, you'll be able to get a sense of how your room is going to behave, how it's going to affect the sound, and you're going to make adjustments accordingly. For example, you might need to add more low end to your mix to compensate for a room full of natural reverberation. And finally, do not be afraid to experiment. Try out different EQ settings, different sound sources, and also different effect pedals. The more you play around with your gear, the more you'll get a sense of what is going to work for you and what doesn't work. It's all about the music in the end of the day, and it's not about the gear itself, but about the sound that you are creating. I'm going to switch over to my setup here. If you can see that what's happening is that I've got, let's check this out. I am going to lower my microphone a little. Okay, so what you can see on the desk here is there's a few different elements sitting right here. So we've got an OB6 sitting right here. We've got an octatrack. This is my brain. This is the brain. I've chosen this machine because of its sound capabilities, the way it sounds. A lot of people say it doesn't sound well. I think a 909 drum computer doesn't sound that great in itself either, but it does the trick, right? It's hitting the club sound system in a specific way, in a specific place, and that's what you would want. That's what you were looking for. So if we're going to look at how the drums are behaving, I'll just play it here. You can see I've got different things set up already. Now, if I'm going to look at what it is that I'm looking at, I could take out all the drums, right? Kick. My kick is spread out separately on the desk right here. That's how I always do it. So usually I say 1 is the kick. I'll stick it on track 1 on the mixer. But you know what? If I'm standing here, I have to reach all the way over there and I have to do something over on this side. I might be too late. Timing is also an element to make sure that you get things going right in your performance. So that's also a tip. Timing and setting yourself up to get things concise, left, right, that's cool. So everything within muscle memory. So my kick is here, bam, kick, bam, easy, right? So then next to the kick, usually there's a closed head. Yeah, close that here. I was trying to figure out if I did anything with lengths. The conditional tricks, certain sounds can be longer than others. Now, this is on the opposite side of the frequency spectrum, right? So if you're looking at the frequency spectrum, obviously when your kick is over here and your hat's over there, this is how you would space out the playing field. This is what the club sound system really is going to resemble. If there's too much highs, this is going to be really sharp. If there's too much low, this is going to be really boomy. So those are the two things I'd like to look at directly, right? So kick, hat. If that doesn't work out for me, I have to think like, okay, I'll tell the sound tech take off a little bit high or take out a little bit of low end, but that's how I can get my bearings in where does the sound live in this specific venue. A lot of people say like, how do you sound check? Do you just check everything? First, I get my bearings, low end, high end, and then what can I stick in between? Now, snare drum. This is a modern day Billie Jean type beat. Boom, okay. You know what I'm saying? So I like to start from there. If you are using a clap, your music is going to be a little bit more housey, bouncy. If you're going to use a snare, it will become a little bit more aggressive sounding. So keep that in mind. Which is, if you want to make a little bit more powerful music, obviously a snare drum that I've got stuck here on track 3 on my octave track is going to just take you in a different way. Now listen, there's something that I did in order to help me get the vibe of how the low end is working in the club. On track 4, I've got an extra kick drum. Listen. Pop, 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 pop. So you get a pulsating thing in the low end that does dum 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 dum. So you get a little bit of a jolly kind of bouncy thing, which works wonders with the hat and the snare. Boom, bum. Okay, and then I think it's time for more percussion, because this is old school drum computer territory, which is cool. This is how you would look at a maybe a 909 or 808, or that's the way they got programmed. But then again, a sampler wouldn't be a sampler if we wouldn't add any more percussion to it. So that's what we're going to do, right? So looking at how we can manage that. There's another hat here. Yep, nice. And then we got, yeah. So this percussion loop does a lot. It really, really works out on how this can add a little bit more funk. Now, if I've got all these things happening, I know, okay, this is going well, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a bass line on track number 1. Track number 1 here on the RK008. How can you sound better? The way I chose it is like, this thing does the drum computer thing very well, I think. It does a 909 kind of vibe. It's got the similar characteristics where it comes to programming it. And yeah, it's a workflow that I know. So I would say octave track for beats, or an equivalent octave track for beats. That's what I would say. Then in terms of getting a sound to complement that, you would need a fat type underground bass. I'd like to go for the mini tower. You can debate if you would like to use a digital machine that could work also. That could work. And then go for some sort of a FM type style bass. I'd like to go for deeper bass sounds, as I am working with samples, and the samples are coming from the 1010 black box here that I've got connected over on this side to this MIDI fighter. So I can do a little bit of a left-right thing. I can address the samples here. It's easy. Or I can look at the slot and do the same thing here. So this is the same. Now, If I have been drinking or my fingers are wet or I'm nervous and I'm sweaty, it's not ideal to use a glass type touch screen. So I'd love rubber knobs over on this side. I know where the cell is, so I'll hit it up. Another thing is, if you hear, everything is spaced and leveled out correctly, right? So everything works. My samples are not too loud, but they are there, right? So let's just go for a kick drum. And a trick on the 1010 black box is to just go into the sample and see how it is spaced out. Sometimes I think, let me see, what was it? Yeah, the sync. If you stick it on 16th, it's going to just like put a grip into the sample that's a little bit audible. So sometimes I'm trying to try different measures out. I think this sample could do with 1/8. I'll do the same thing with this. So another thing that's important is to listen to the keys. I've got a 4-chord structure going on here. And what I will do is I'll go into the sample right here, select it, go in, and go to the main page and go, just to make sure that you know what it is that I'm doing. Now I'm going to go to my bass line and I'm going to lay a bass underneath. Now, how do I make sure that all the sounds sound great together? If I filter down the sample that I've got right here on the 1010 black box, what you mostly going to be left with is the root note. You can hear it. Let me exaggerate it. This is the whole chord, and then I think it's better if I play along with it. So this. You make it out now. Yeah? So now that I know that that is my root note, so I'm not going to just like play this. This would be the long approach, long note approach. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to temper with the length because it's now 32 beats and I want it to be 16 beats. So I'm going to say enter, keep beginning, yes. Doom, 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 doom. Nice. Listen, this is the long bass line. And that's all cool. Listen to the filter. What you would want is to spice it up a little bit. So, dun, 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 dun. Let's do that then. Becomes a little bit more interesting already. Now, what I'm going to do is look at the sound. I will shorten the note. I will play the bass line as I think it's going to work. It's going to be a walking bass line. Walking bass line, it makes sense in a second while I'll play it. So I'll go in, then I'll play this. Now I'll play the bass line. And I managed to do it at one take. Now let's take out this sample. To the bass. With the rest of my drums. There was a lot of reso. Take out a little bit of reverb, put a little bit of delay on there. And there's another sample that plays this. Arpeggios. Arpeggios always make you sound great. They will do a lot of stuff because they will invoke a lot of musicality. This one's a little bit on the loud side, so I'm going to mix, turn it down a little bit. And I'm going to work on my bass line a little bit. Nice. So now I've got something that's really working, but still, you can still pinpoint what's happening. The drums are here, the bass is here, the sample's here, so I'm going to add an extra sample. That was the one underneath, the DOS. And because I've played the bass line similar to this sample, let's take out the top one. Let's take out all the drums. Let's open the filter up. Go here, here. The filter also mapped on the fighter. You can clearly hear that I can even morph these two sounds together, that you won't even hear that there's a minitor playing underneath. But believe you me, this will make a lot of difference when you're hearing it in the club. Can you hear how it's punchy? Boom, 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 boom. Liking that. Okay, let's go in with the drums. First start with the kick, like so. Always keep your levels in mind. It's very important to not go crazy and keep pushing stuff. I'm sometimes also guilty of doing the same thing. You're enthusiastic and you keep pushing stuff, so keep in mind to not overdo it. And yeah, so more drums in, like so. Nice, open up the filter on the bass a little bit, kick out. And that top sample. Nice. That's how I basically work it. So it sounds like a track. It sounds like a song. I've got a lot of possibilities. There is an XD right here. There's an OB6 right there. Obviously I can do much more. But for me, I just want to make a point on, you know, if you're just looking at where can I start, how can I work certain things, this is hard enough as it is. This is going to be hard enough just to get all these sounds to work before you start adding different things to it now. So, bass line, drums, and then obviously, you know, some sort of a keyboard, because then you've got this for a setup. That's cool, right? Fits in the backpack. Take out the bass. All your mutes. Yep. I guess that's that. Let me know in the comment section what you think on how you work your sound, and I hope this is helpful. In this video, we've talked about the challenges of selecting audio equipment for live performances and some of the key components that can make all the difference. I've also shared some crucial tips on testing your gear in a live setting, and I've encouraged you to experiment with different settings, different sounds, different placement, different EQ settings. The more you experiment, the more you'll learn. Thank you for watching this video. If you got any more questions, if you got experiences with audio equipment, please share, like, and do all that thing. Just leave a comment in the section below. If you're looking for more tips on videos, you know where to find them. I'm Analog Kitchen, and if you want to check out more, don't hesitate to check out patreon.com/analogkitchen for more on this topic. Now, thanks for watching. Keep watching this space, and I guess I'm out.